42% life extra, and we have instant leech, so it's sort of whatever. What's this? Let's kill that Siri first. I mean, I should probably try to tank that, honestly. Alright, this doesn't hurt. One writ. And one writ. We have a Uber exarch over here. Pretty easy fight. We'll be able to outreach everything. Do damage. So we actually don't want to kill this guy too fast because we're just sitting here out leeching it. Technically, if we could take like 10 balls in the face at the same time, that could hurt. So we're like barely doing any damage to this guy. So we'll kill him too fast. Need that overreach. Alright. Easy phase. Just tank this. Okay. I have another worm. A worm flash just in case if the guy dies, right? Otherwise, we just tap the attack every couple of seconds. We have 80% evasion, so the Minotaur doesn't really do damage. Can't really hit us. Other than that, we just stand here. Now we do damage. Wow. Nice phase. Just about to do damage. And the fortify and the endurance charges make us really tanky against hits. So don't really take damage. Overleech for recovery. Now we go. We have an Uber Elder right here at 2-player HP. Okay. We have to put on Maven. Oh well. Damage pretty good. Well, yeah. You're supposed to stay outside on this link. But it's fine. Still 2-player HP. We actually tank every single skill. I think the only way we die is somehow we get Elder Slammed on top of Shaper Slam at the same second, basically. Thing. That was sloppy, but I mean we have overleech, so it doesn't matter. We're just sitting in beam. Yeah, that actually does do like a decent amount of damage. So hypothetically, if we took them both at the same time, that would hurt. Well, that's not gonna happen. We can eat at this too. Oh yeah, pretty chill fight overall. Super tanky. Waiting for him to pop out of the phase. Degen's not in a problem with the overleech. And we get polymath, 2 worm kills, so that's like about 20% instant regen, which is why we're using double worm blast. And plus, blasts aren't very good for this build, honestly. We're crit capped already, so like there's not a lot of good mods for blasts, to be honest. be what we get. Watcher's Eye, maybe a Void Forge. No, the garbage ring. So this one's pretty tanky. 200% HP, 100 extra as life. No damage mods except for speed. We're pretty tanky myself, so we can just tank them. It's gonna be a little bit. And a 20% deli orb, of course. Tincture. Once he goes low life, punishment will kick in. We can tank all the skills, so pretty chill. Pretty good damage. Pretty good damage. Hey everybody, I just wanted to go over my second build of the league. I just finished gearing this guy. This is a Frenzy of Onslaught Trickster. So this build is pretty strong, I think. We were able to face roll the entire endgame, and I think this gem's pretty strong and has good synergies this league in particular. So the gem stacks 7% more damage and 7% more attack speed per frenzy. It has really good synergy between Relicash Boots and the Amulet Replica Badger Brotherhood. So the skill works by every time we attack, we get Frenzy Charge. At max frenzies, which is 10 for my build, that frenzy charges get used and gets converted into onslaught duration. So that means you lose all your frenzy damage, but you get 10 seconds of worth of onslaught. So we can't have that. That's why we gotta use Relicash Boots. So we always are at max frenzies. So we have all the damage. And every single time we attack, we get one frenzy, which gets instantly used into 1 second onslaught, which basically means we have perma onslaught while attacking. We do lose it between phases, or if you're not attacking anything for that 1 second, so that is a bit of a downside, but realistically, whenever you're attacking, you will have onslaught. So what is the interaction between this and the amulet? Basically, at max frenzies of 10, we have all the charges through the boots. Our frenzies are equivalent to endurance charges. That means we have 10 endurance charges right now. That's 40% DR against elemental and physical damage, which makes us super tanky already. We are CI, so chaos doesn't do anything. We can ignore that completely. And on top of that, we get 1 fortification charge per endurance charge. So we are at 30 stacks of fortify. We actually have 32 because I have +2 from my lethal pride nodes. So you can see 32% less damage from hits. We are super tanky just from endurance charges. That we have suppression, full 56% suppression, 31k evasion. Ghost stands for instant heal if we get hit, and 79% evasion against all attack hits. And on top of that, we are Trickster. That means we have Overleech for ES, and we also have instant life recovery for each kill. So we have 10 masteries, give or take, depending on what you have on the build. So that's around 10% ES on kill. We drop the Worm Flask to instant heal. That's 2 worms, 2 kills, 20% instant heal right there. And on top of that, you get Overleech and the Fortify. So super strong. That's why we are using 2 in my bossing setup. So we will always have that on-demand heal and Overleech and Fortify. As far as the build goes, we are pretty strong. Like I said, all those defenses lets us face roll everything. The only thing I was not able to tank was the Maven memory game. With a little bit of work, I can definitely tank that. I think we would have to change out some flasks to get some armor. We would probably need to add frost shields for more tank. We can get that and prep everything for the Maven memory game to tank that. But honestly, realistically, we don't need to do all that. Because that's the only time you would need like that amount of absurd tank. And was it damage is more important at that point, right? So as far as damage goes, you can see we killed all the Uber bosses pretty fast. We are 20 to 50 million DPS depending on certain conditions. When we are below 50% HP for the enemy, punishment kicks in. That's a lot of damage. We are using Enfeeble, but you also have the option of Conductivity and Frostbite for more damage. If we get a big shot from big shock from the multi-strike, that is more damage. I like to switch to a sulfur flask for a single target because that gives around like 8 to 10% more damage. But when everything's ticked and everything's right, when you get that rage, we only have 1 rage per melee hit through the lethal pride. So usually you won't have that much rage, but if there's a certain scenario we can max stack it, yeah, you get a lot more damage. But conservatively, we are doing at least 20 million. We can hit 50 million if we have the right conditions. What's nice about this build also is very low button, frenzy attack, focus, which drops my curses, drops my exposure through Hydrosphere, and that's it. Basically, you do that. Movement skill, whirling blades, your instant jump over things, flame dash, or frostblink, your choice. And I also use sigil of power for a little bit extra prep damage, a little bit more defense combined here. So overall, pretty good skill to have free. And that's it as far as buttons. Like I said, actually, wait, one more. Ball haste for a little bit extra burst. But other than that, yeah, very low buttons, so a very comfy playstyle. As far as clear goes, clear is not that good on the build. We're just a melee basic attack, right? Does a lot of damage, but it's just a regular basic attack. So you do need Herald of Ice or Oriath's End for clear. Either or, you do have to have that for clear. Otherwise, your clear will be terrible. As far as cost for the build, this build is about 100 to 150 divs, not including the dagger. Give or take. I crafted all of this rares myself, so I have no idea on the actual price. I think the +1 frenzy shield went up quite a bit since I bought it. I bought it like 5 divs or something like that. So it's hard to tell depending on the market. But most of the build isn't too expensive for how strong it is, I would say. The dagger, I self-crafted this myself from the very start to this. So this costs about 50 divs to craft. Just because fractures, I went expensive because I hit T1 lightning flat. I used the augment speed option on the harvest craft, so I didn't want to fill up my suffixes just in case. And obviously I hit everything pretty well. Super expensive, and also the reason why we are using a dagger is that craft, the rune craft, melee hits on fortify. That means when we drop the worms, 100% chance to get fortify. Way more consistent. I did not like the melee fortify on from the chest. That's consistent for mapping, but when you really need to be tanky is when you're bossing. And that's just not consistent enough because, like, let's just say Shaper, Purple Ball phase, when you got dodge, you need to heal, you need to overleech, you need the fortify to proc. 15% time for that to proc. Not consistent enough. So that is why I ended up using a dagger, because it has that rune enchant. And daggers are pretty strong this league, actually, because you see that 10% base crit? I have no crit in my gem links. Nothing that adds crit. And we are at 100% crit between the tree and Assassin's Mark on hit. So I think daggers are pretty strong this league. And as far as comparisons to other Trickster builds, I would say the main one is the Emerald Edge, where you stack int. So the main difference why I think my build's a little bit better currently is just like quality of life here. You can see 1.3 attack speed. This is 1.9. You saw how fast I was with the whirling blades there. Look at my main attack right here. And this is with 10 frenzies, mind you. And look at the whirling blades. Put this on. Oh shit, my ships are back. My dagger. Look how much faster that is. Like, so much faster. So much better quality of life, honestly. So that's why I think this is a lot stronger. Not to mention, if you're using 2 uniques here, 3 uniques here, in my case, can't stack ES as hard. That means this Sword Emerald Edge is just much worse for this particular version of the build. And yeah, so overall, I really enjoyed my time with the build. Super tanky. You can check right here. As soon as my deaths, died 36 times overall. Honestly, I didn't really die any times past like 90 once I got my ES over like 6k and got my build solidified. We didn't really die at all, other than testing certain things like the Memory Maven game. I died twice there, I think, to try to tank that. And the only other thing that killed me was altars. There is an altar if you do the blue guy, the eater. If you do that altar, there is one that says you lose defense per frenzy. We have 10 frenzies. Basically, you click that altar, which I did by accident a couple times while mapping. You get 0 ES, so you have 1 HP. You just die to any hit, and that can kill you. But other than that, if you are not clicking those altars or doing the red altars, you basically won't die anywhere. Like, it's very hard to die in this build. You're super tanky. We have really great DPS. So, overall, pretty enjoyable build. Okay, I'm gonna go over the gear now. So, like I said, we crafted this sword from nothing to this. It cost me 50 divs, give or take, depending on the market for the crafting supplies. You don't need anything like this. This is an 830 elemental DPS dagger. I would go for at least 600 or something like that. It's more than enough for Uber endgame, but get whatever you can get, right? You can also use the claw until you can make the daggers, because claws are a lot more common. You can use the melee hit on Fortify, which I used on the chest before, but we swapped that out, obviously, because I wanted more consistent uptime with the Runecraft here. And yeah, that's just triple flat damage, attack speed, crit, crit multi for rares and uniques, which is when you really need damage. And that's my weapon. As for my offhand, we are using the Parapitia shield. It gives 1,000 lightning ages, so 1,000 more EHP against lightning damage. And it also gives some attack speed, movement speed, decent amount of ES, but most importantly, +1 frenzy. So why not a rare shield with +1 frenzy? Cost. I don't know what they cost nowadays, but I think last time I checked, they're like 70 plus divs for a rare shield, and not even a good ES base, so I just ended up using this since this was way cheaper. As far as the helmet goes, standard Trickster, max ES, get as much ES as you can get. You just want to open suffix for the focus. That is how I'm doing triple curses and my exposure all at once with the focus button. That's the only really important thing for the helmet. Just get max ES on prefix. And that attack damage right there on implicit could also be mana reservation if you need that to balance out the auras. As far as the chest goes, standard Trickster stuff, max defenses once again. I used a loathing essence and I hit some pretty good stuff. So the suffixes you really want just suppression. I have Dexter is sort of dead mana, I'll be honest. Int, res, nothing in particular, honestly. Just get as much defense as you can get. Implicits, nothing really important. The Eater World, Fizz taken as chaos, that means we take 0 chaos damage because we're CI, so that is just less, 11% less Fizz damage. So like I said in the video at the start, the combo is Replica Badger Brotherhood and Riveted Boots. We are anointing the +1 Frenzy from Savagery because it's pretty far from the tree. We are using the Anathema Ring. That way we can do 4 curses. Super strong. Pretty good synergy with ES. The ring is just life. Or I mean ES, res, accuracy, some elemental damage with attacks. The -7 craft is nice just for a little bit more mana. Sustain for the attacks and spells. But you don't really need that, but I would recommend that for the ring. Nothing particular you need to get for a ring. Just get whatever you need. The gloves are +1 frenzy gloves. I ended up choosing this, but I think the better play is probably elder gloves with +2 strike, because you can see on the tree we are getting this tree to get the mastery for +1 strike. This 5 nodes are complete garbage. We don't use +1 proj. We get 12% attack speed. That is pretty garbage, but we need that just for the +1 strike. Like I said, get Elder gloves with plus strike is probably a better play. You can craft much better gloves since you can move around the Eldritch mods. So you would have much stronger gloves, but +1 Frenzy Synth mod is also an option, which is what I ended up using because I wanted to stack as much Frenzy charges as possible. Another option is using Awakener Orb with the Warlord gloves, and I think either Hunter or is it Elder, I forget. for +2 strike. But that's pretty hard to craft. You have to just awaken an orb and just hope you get something on the prefix. And then you have to craft the suffixes a little bit with like prefixes can't be changed and reforged, maybe speed or something like that, or a res. But it's just way harder to craft, so this is why I ended up with this. But the Awakener Orbed gloves would probably be the strongest play if you have unlimited money. The belt is just ES, res belt, nothing special. I slammed on the Crusader Orb to try hit something. We hit lightning damage, which is basically a brick. I was trying to hit ES maximum. But, yeah, basic crystal belt with ES. As far as my flasks go, for bossing, I use double writhing flask, quicksilver for movement, the tincture, which is insane, gives I think in my current build gives like 60 to 70% damage, give or take. And we have pretty high uptime, like 10 seconds as long as we're attacking and leeching. The last flask is completely optional, honestly. I just use less curse for mapping with Jade. Nothing in particular. I use a sulfur with flask gain charge on crit. We have 100% crit, so we gain the charges back pretty often, and evasion on the suffix. You can also use elemental flasks, like let's just say fire for exarch if you need more defense. But nothing in particular there. The second writhing flask goes away with Oriath's End for clearing. And that's my flask. Okay, we can go over the gems now. So the gems for my build, Whirling Blades, faster attacks. You can use Calling Strike here, but with Punishment, we do so much damage when they go below 50%. I didn't really feel the need. Precision for accuracy, some crit, and for my Watcher's Eye. In my helmet, we have the Tri-Curses, Elemental Weakness, Punishment, Enfeeble. The Enfeeble is optional. You can put damage, you can put temp chains. Use whatever feels good to you. Hydrosphere for my exposure. In my main link, we are using Awakened Elemental Attack Damage, Multi-Strike, Energy Shield Leech, Trinity, Frenzy, Ice Bite. In my offhand, we have Flame Dash for the movement, Assassin's Mark, Mark on hit. So that automates that. In the gloves is complete optional. These 4 links are do whatever you want, honestly. I am using Immortal Call, more duration, cast 1 damage taken, and Sigil Power. I am manually casting the Sigil Power, lasts 18 seconds. It's a little bit more damage, and if the enemy is in the circle, they do 15% less damage. You can also use Frost Shield to get even tankier. Whatever you want. There's a lot of options. You can use other guard skills. You can put Hydrosphere for a consistent uptime with the exposure. Like you can do whatever here. There's nothing really set in stone there. As far as the boots go, we are +2 aura on the boots. That's why I put my auras here. Haste, Wrath, Enlighten, Purity Elements. You could also use Anger. Anger gives more damage, but I felt for quality life, Haste was better. And not to mention you get the Vol Haste skill. And those are our gems. The tree and our jewels really quickly for this bit of information. We have Swift Killer for the frenzy charges, Polymath for recovery and damage, Escape Artist for tank as Trickster, and Soul Drinker for the Overleech. So nothing too special. We are tattooing all my int nodes because I had a lot of int rolls on my gear. So this gives a little bit more ES. So I tattooed all these as ES%. You can tattoo whatever you want. We are going here, grabbing dagger nodes, some crit. CI, we're going through here, going CI. Why are we going through this pathing? The most important part is this Light of Meaning Jewel, 3% ES. You can see 9.6. Damn, we lose 2000 ES right there. So pretty strong right there. Very, very strong gem. This one's pretty expensive though. I don't know how much it costs. Currently it's like 15 divs, give or take, depending on when this video is posted. So that's a really strong combo. That's why we went the pathing like this, because we get 3% ES per node in this big circle. We are also grabbing dagger nodes, getting some suppress here. Cannot take damage from crits here, makes us really tanky, so we can't get crit from bosses. Instant leech. This is our source of instant leech. So basically we get ES gain on hit equivalent. The cluster jewel goes right here. We are using a Feed the Fury, Martial Prowess, and Strike Leader. Strike Leader is nice because it gives some attack range, which is quality life, pretty strong. We are using double pressure points, basic of pain, medium clusters. They're really efficient to get crit capped. My Watcher's Eye right here is a attack damage and crit while affected by Wrath. I think it costs around 5 divs, give or take, when I bought it. Not too expensive. And this is my CB Jewel with Fire Res and basically whatever I found that's sort of kind of useful for the build. If we go over here, we are using a Massive Thread of Hope. It has really strong nodes. You can see right here. Reservation. This is just a suppression cap because my gear is a little bit shit as far as suppression goes. If we had better rolls, we wouldn't need this. Attack damage and speed right here. Pretty strong. You can get this 40% crit if you lack crit. For a crit cap, that's pretty good node too, but we're crit cap, so I didn't need that. And it has really good synergy with the Lethal Pride here. You can see we get suppression, plus 1 fortify, crit multi, some attack range for more quality life. I forgot to mention, actually, we actually have decent amount of block, so that's actually not negligible. 33% block for attacks. Just overall, really good synergy. Some pen. Saves a lot of nodes and has a really good node you can click with this Massive Thread of Hope. Lethal Pride, we are using 14001. The mod here doesn't matter, we're not using the keystone. The 2 mods we're looking for are Intimidate and Rage on Hit. Most important. Everything else is get whatever you can get that's sort of useful. And as far as the tree goes right here, this is sort of important here. I like to use the 30% reduced crit while mapping and just turn to crit multi when we're bossing because we're crit immune to this mark mastery for a single target. And that is the tree. Alright, so let's go over the POB stats and info really quickly. So as far as calcs go, we're on Uber, Trinity, of course. Always full on ES. Well, we're a Trickster, so we overleash, and we have the Writhing Flask for on kill, so I keep that ticked. That's basically almost on all the time. We have onslaught through the frenzy hit of our skill. Fortified, once again, it's always on because we can drop Worm Flask. Basically, it will always be on if we need it. Rage, we only get 1 rage per hit, so we can get 2 per second. I put 6, so that's 3 seconds worth of ramp. I think that's reasonable for your standard against bossing. When you're mapping, it doesn't matter. If you had 0 rage, if we had half the damage, it'd be enough, honestly. Like, we could just kill everything anyways with this amount of damage. We are always leeching and leeching ES because Trickster, once again, with the overleech. He's ignited, chilled, shocked. I put 10%. Obviously, it depends on how much the multi-strike hits on the last hit for the shock percent. But on Uber Exarch, I was doing 10 to... I hit 19%, but obviously it varies. I just put down 10%. Should be pretty conservative. Intimidate is also can be ticked on and off because that is 10% to the Lethal Pride for 4 seconds. So when you first start attacking, it's probably not going to be on, but it could eventually go. It should usually get on within like 1 to 2 seconds because we do have 14 attacks per second right there. If we click on low life, we get 10 million more damage. That's because of punishment. So when the enemy goes below half health, which they are most dangerous, we do a lot more damage. So it's very noticeable. So that's pretty good. As you can see, we are extremely tanky against max hits. Even my fizz hits 45,000. We have amazing recovery through overleech, polymath kill on hit. And yeah, pretty tanky as far as that goes. As far as the skills here. I didn't click on Immortal Call. That's a little bit extra tank, but obviously it's not always on. Sigil Power gives a little bit damage, 2%. And then if you get max stacks, you can do 15% less damage if the enemy is in the circle. So that's a little bit more DR and damage, but it's pretty conditional. As far as here, I added the other curses optional. You drop Enfeeble, you can get 12% more damage. Conductivity, you get bigger shocks in return. It's probably pretty competitive with Frostbite because 1% more damage here, give or take. But like I said, bigger shocks equals more damage. So I think conductivity is probably the best play if you want to max damage, but I like Enfeeble. You can also use temp chains if you want. As far as other skills to click on, we have Wall Haste. Wall Haste would give us 2 to 3 million more damage. You can also do Anger. You can see Anger right here. click this off. Anger is 20% damage. This is 12% damage. So anger is also an option if you want to go max damage and you don't care about movement speed. But personally, I like the haste, just better for mapping overall, and then not needing to swap out gems for bossing. And that is the build. Oh yeah, the flask. Right, one more thing, flask. Like I said earlier in the video, flasks aren't really important for this build. Nothing really stands out. The Battle Faith would be better than a regular sulfur, but I didn't feel a need for it. If you get enkindling on this, this could be when they're standing in your count ground, let's just say 15% more damage. Surgeon's sulfur flask is 10% more. We're a crit cap, so that like increased crit chance doesn't do anything for us. It literally is just that 10% more damage. With a flask, you get like enkindling, you get like 17. What is it? You can get 16% more damage. So like I said, it's maybe 15% damage, but I like the uptime for this. 100% crit, so we get flash charges pretty often when it's not on. So we can click this a lot more often. That's why I like this better for bossing. Um, Tinctures, obviously insane this league. It gives 70% more damage, right? So if I want to go full POB warrior, we can be full POB warrior and 60 million damage. Wow, when we're on low life and with max rage, 70 million. But that's not realistic. More than enough damage, obviously. You see in the video, we are demolishing uber bosses. So if you have any other questions, hit me up in the notes section. I added crafting tips for all the items and how to make them, for the build, and that's it.